So I just want to say, like, disclaimer, just because I titled this the way it is, it doesn't mean I hate these authors. They're just authors that I've tried out and realized they're really not for me. You know, they're just really not for me, or ones that I used to like, but I've grown to like not like their writing anymore. You know, like sometimes you can evolve as a reader and you just don't like these authors anymore. So I thought I would put down a list of authors that I've either tried and didn't like, or authors that I used to like, but something happened and it changed my mind about them. So I thought I would post like all the books I read, or stuff like that I ended up DNFing. So the first one I'll talk about is T.L. Swan. Now, I'll put down all the books that I've read from her, you know, like right here. Now, the only one I would say that I still enjoy by the author is The Takeover. Everything else by her, I've either DNF'd or gave lower ratings to, because she has a certain way of like a formula that she likes to write, and I don't particularly like it. A lot of times these relationships that she creates, they're very like toxic or like roller coaster relationships, like up and down. And I would say, like, with The Takeover, it didn't really have that for me. Like, I really enjoyed this book a lot, you know? So it's a shame that I'm not really a big fan of this author. Like I said, she has a certain formula, and I don't like the way she writes her books. Most of her books are just blah, you know? So, yeah, I would say The Takeover is probably like my favorite out of all of her books. So, the next one I will talk about is Sophie Lark. This is another author where I've tried getting into her books, but there's really only one book that I ended up liking out of, you know, all of her books that I've tried reading. So the one that I actually liked from her was There Are No Saints. This was the Sinner book series, book 1. So it had to do with like dueling serial killers, and one of the serial killers falls in love with the other serial killer's almost victim. Like, the one serial killer that tries to kill her, the heroine, she ends up surviving, and he notices that she survived. The other serial killer knows that she survived. So that one there, I actually liked. But all her other books that I've tried reading from her, just not a fan. Just not a fan of her work. And yeah, there was like only that one book that I actually enjoyed. So the next author that I'm not a fan of, Joanna Shupe. Now, I've tried reading several of her historical romances. Some of them I didn't even put down that I DNF'd them actually on my Goodreads list. I know there's more that I've tried to read from her that I ended up DNFing, and I had the physical versions of these books. Like, I ended up finding these books like used. And so there's really only one book that I actually enjoyed from her. So this was Miracle on Ladies Mile. It's basically a Christmas novella. So it's a historical romance, and it's a department store owner. He falls for the window dresser. Like, back in the day, you know, they used to have like these huge department stores, especially in New York. I don't know if they still have department stores in New York or not. I haven't been to New York City in years, so I don't know if they still have them. But they had those like window dressers, you know, where you go and look at the window and all that stuff, and all these little, you know, things going on. You know, it's what attracts the person to go in and buy. So I actually really like this novella. But like I said, her other books, I've really tried getting into some of her other historicals, and I just don't like them. And, you know, she's done it, like, she did an interview before, and I was like, I don't like what she had to say in the interview. So it really made me not want to pick up any more of her books. So The next author I would say I'm not really a big fan of is Katie Robert. Now, I'll post like all the books that, I've tried reading from her, or books that I did read for her, but I wasn't really a huge fan of them. So the ones I would say I actually really enjoyed from her was The Dragon's Bride. This was like a monster romance book. So I thought that was pretty good. And then Your Dad Will Do. I will say, like, I don't really like Katie Robert. Like, I don't like her social media. I don't like her attitude. And also, authors that do this thing in a book will make it to where I'm like, no, I'm never reading anything else by that author. That's if you do like books where it has abortion in it. Not a fan. Not a fan. I don't like that. That's one of the things that I would prefer not to be in a romance. I'm sorry. I don't like that type of thing put into a romance novel. No. So that to me was like, nope, I'm done. I'm not going to bother reading anything else from that author again. It was a book that I didn't read because I heard that particular thing was in the book, and I was like, nope, nope, no, no. I don't care how you feel in real life, like whether or not you are for or against, not my business. But that's something I don't support in a romance novel. It's just, no. There's some things I just think you don't have to put in a romance novel. It's just some things you could just leave out. Some things you could just leave out. So I was like, no, I'm done. So I don't want to read any more from that author. The next one is Karina Halley. There, I'll put down, how many books I've read from her. And I'd say like the ones that I actually really enjoyed from her was One Hot Italian Summer, Love Wrecked, and Bright Midnight. Now, Bright Midnight actually had a kind of cheating trope in it, but I was okay with it for the fact that this was basically a second chance romance where the hero was originally from Norway, and he was basically living with his, I think, mother. I think he was living with his mother. And he was like a troublemaker, and he got in used to do bad things. And so while he was dating this girl, he went and like cheated on her, and she found out about it like when they were in high school, and then he had left. And then years later, she's visiting Norway, and she bumps into her ex, and they rekindle the relationship. And like I said, I kind of forgave him for myself, like it's not up to me to forgive him. It was obviously up to the heroine. But I was okay with it for the fact that he was a dumb teenager. Teenagers make mistakes, they do dumb things, and it's like, I don't think, for something like that, you don't hate the person for the rest of your life, To me, it's like, it's not like he killed somebody, It's like he did something stupid, he made a mistake, he realized that what he did was wrong, and he regretted it. And he like did it deliberately because he wanted to like, have her break up with him, which, of course is kind of dumb, but he was a dumb teenager, he grew up and matured, So I accepted that. I normally don't accept cheating in romances, but that one I actually was okay with. But yeah, I don't like her as a person. I'll just say that. I don't like her as a person. And there's certain things that she's said online that I'm just like, nah, I'm good. I don't need to read any more books from her. So there's that one right there. The next I would say would be Penny Reid. I don't know what it is about Penny Reid. I don't really like her writing. I don't like her style of writing. It's just, it doesn't work for me. She does like a lot of big words and everything like that. And I just feel like it's very unnecessary to tell a story, you know? And I just not really just fan of her writing, you know? Like some authors, I just don't feel like they're really good at like romance, you know? And it just, to me, I was like, yeah, she's not really my cup of tea. I'll just say that. Not really a big fan of her. So the only ones I would say I actually really liked from her was Neanderthal Seeks Human and Dating-ish. Those are the ones I actually gave like a 4 or 5 star to. I think I gave four stars to them. So I actually did like them, but everything else I've tried getting into with her, not a fan. Not a fan, you know? Like I said, it's nothing against her. I just don't like her writing, you know? You may like her, you know, and there you go. So, the next one I would have to go with would be Tiffany Roberts. Now, this is a couple that writes romance. Again, it's nothing against them as a couple. They seem like so sweet, and I don't have any hate toward them. But I just don't really like a lot of their romances. They just end up being kind of duds for me, you know? And I just can't really get into all of the world building, you know? Like the only ones I would say I actually really liked from that author couple is Treasure of the Abyss and Claimed by an Alien Warrior. Now, the Claimed by an Alien Warrior, that one reminded me a lot of this movie called Starman that had Jeff Bridges in it. It was like an 80s movie. That's what it reminded me of. And I liked those ones, but I couldn't get into the rest of that Treasure of the Abyss series. Like there was other books in that series, and the second book I wasn't a fan of. And then I've tried getting into multiple other books by the authors, and I just couldn't get into their writing, you know? And like I said, nothing against them. They seem like perfectly nice people, but I just can't get into their writing style, you know? I don't know if it's like, if it's his writing and it's all the, you know, because I think he's doing a lot of the technical stuff. I don't know what it is, but it's just, it's not for me, you know? Not for me. So the next author I would have to talk about is Penelope Douglas. Now, Penelope Douglas, I liked her writing for years, but all of a sudden I noticed this change in the author, and I honestly think that she got a big head and she started changing up her writing. Also, there were books that I started looking back on that I was like, you know what? This is kind of, her writing started to kind of creep me out because a lot of what she writes are teenagers, you know, having sex. And it started to bother me where I'm like, you know, I don't really feel comfortable reading these books. You know, I go and like read a book that, you know, I liked, and I'm like, this is kind of weird that she writes about a lot of teenagers. And it's like, she doesn't write about like, you know, early 20-somethings. She writes about 18 or younger, you know? And it just, you know, it just really started bothering me. And so I just got to the point where I stopped liking her writing. And so the only ones I would still recommend and actually still like is Birthday Girl and Punk 57. I still enjoy Punk 57, even though it's still with like high schoolers, but I believe that both of them were 18. I believe both of them were 18. So I can recommend those, but anything where it's like 17, 16-year-olds, yeah, I can't reread those anymore, you know? It's like, it just kind of creeps me out where I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about this, you know? I'm better off with like, if she created characters that were older, you know? So there's that author there. The next one I would say, this author here, I've grown out of her writing. I've just haven't been really enjoying her writing the past how many years. So I'd say Tessa Bailey. Tessa Bailey, I really enjoyed her Phenomenal series that had to do with like vampires. I really enjoyed that series. It didn't get like really hyped up. A lot of people, like, there were some people who really didn't like it, but I really liked that series. I thought it was really good. And then her Hot and Hammered series, the first book in that series got a ton of people talking about it, but I actually preferred book 2 and 3 out of that series. And then she had another series called Beach Kingdom. The one book I liked in there called Heat Stroke, but I'd say there might be some people who might not like that because it is it's a gay love story, male, and she's a straight author. And I know there's some people who don't feel comfortable with straight white women, you know, writing about gay love stories. I know some people don't like that, but I still like the book. I still enjoy it. And then the other thing I liked was, I did like the Bellinger Sisters series, but I'd say the first book out of that series I liked better. It Happened One Summer. I liked that one better than the second book. But yeah, I did like her. And then she did some other books and they didn't hit for me. And I got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm not enjoying my reading anymore with this author. So it's better if I just stop reading her, you know? What's the point of reading the books if you're not enjoying them, you know? So there was at least like 3 books in a row that I read from her that I was just like, nah, I'm not feeling them. I don't like this author anymore. So I got out of her. And then I would say the last one I will talk about is Carrian Burn. Now, I never really got into, and I didn't really enjoy the, like, what was it, the Highwayman series or whatever it was called. I liked the first book, The Highwayman, but all the rest of them I wasn't a huge fan of. The other one I would say I actually liked from that series was The Duke with the Dragon Tattoo. I thought that was pretty good. And then I liked the Good Girl series. The reason why I don't support her anymore, I don't like her anymore, is she started doing these other books where she's writing with another author, and they don't work. They don't work. They never really work out for me. And then also she started supporting like AI and was giving like her readers like a really nasty attitude. And I just didn't like that. I'm like, no, you're giving people an attitude, and I didn't like it. I didn't like what she was saying. And I was like, no, I'm better with not supporting you anymore. And then she just completely she was supposed to write like 2 other books in the one series, the Good Girl series. And then she decided not to. And she still has them up. It's still on Goodreads that, you know, the books were going to come out, but they never came out. And I'm like, if you're not going to go and continue on with that series, then just delete them off the Goodreads system, you know? So I just decided I'm not going to go and support that author anymore, just based on her attitude and the way she was with her readers that were asking her like questions and stuff. Didn't like it. Didn't like the way she came off. And I was like, no, I don't need to support you anymore. And it's a shame because, like I said, that Good Girl series, I really enjoyed it. You know, I really enjoyed that series, and I just don't like the way she's, you know, going about her writing and, you know, like I said, her attitude toward, you know, AI and supporting it. And I was just like, no, because it's like, how do I know that you actually wrote what you wrote and you didn't leave it up to like ChatGPT? Because it's like, it's stealing from other people. That's how it's getting its information. So I'm just like, no, I'm good. I don't need to support that. So I was fine with that, where I'm like, okay, I'm good with you. I don't need to read any more books from you. So yeah, these are just, like I said, these are authors that I choose not to support anymore for either, like I said, I decided I don't like their writing anymore, or they've said something online that I don't support, I don't agree with. And, you know, that's pretty much how it goes. If you want to continue to read these authors, or you haven't read them and you want to read them, that's your choice. It's, you know, you can read whatever you want. I don't go and like, police what people read. If that's what if this is the author you want to support and that's the author you want to, read from or keep reading from, that's your choice, you know? And just because I, you know, don't read these authors anymore doesn't mean that you can't, you know, or you're like, oh, this book sounds interesting, I want to check it out. It's your choice, you know? So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video here. Have yourselves a good day. Take care of yourselves. Be kind to each other. And I will see you all on the next video. All right.